Do you remember moving as a kid? I loved when we moved. I mean, I had so many friends that I ended up leaving behind, and I don't know what became of them. I mean, we never really connected after we moved. I mean, they were just gone. I had a very difficult time connecting to people when I was a kid and remembering their names. And I guess, they told me that's disorganized attachment style or whatever jargon they use in the DSM-5, but I I can still see their faces, but I can't remember their names. And I'm not sure I even got to say goodbye. My mother was not one for goodbyes. As we packed everything up and we began moving into a home, I officially left the trailer park. And it was one of those things where there was so much excitement, like straight up excitement. But there's also a lot of uncertainty. There's also a lot of feeling like, I wonder what's going to happen next. And I don't remember like getting to see the house before it was bought or any of that stuff. I mean, we just showed up and moved in. My brother and I, we got to be upstairs, which is really cool because it was a big room and plenty of space. And we weren't used to that. We were used to small rooms. We ended up having a bunk beds, and we took those little bunk beds and they put them in this like nook area. And which is kind of weird because you get so much space. Like he could have his own space, I could have my own space, and it's kind of strange how we just ended up sleeping on bunk beds. But we didn't really have much of I don't know, a way of sharing our excitement. By that time in my life, I was very reserved with emotions, almost non-existent. Like I think from an emotional perspective, I was a pretty numb person. And I don't remember which night it was, but I think it was a few nights into moving. We'd unpacked all the boxes and everything was somewhat squared away. I remember having our toys out in the room and just having space to play. It was awesome. It felt so awesome just to have some space to be able to play. And we were in a situation where we felt so excited. That's just what I remember with me and my brother. We felt like things could be different, or at least I felt like things could be different. And there was a lot to do. There was still a lot to do, a lot to learn, the lay of the land, a lot of exploring to do because we actually had land now. We could go outside and we can go in the woods and we could check things out and we could play soccer and we could play baseball and we could do all these different things we never really were able to do in the trailer park because you don't have much land when you're in the trailer park. And it was within this entire new experience that I ended up going to bed one night, as I had done many, many nights before. What was different was how I woke up. My mother grabbed me in the middle of the night and ripped me out of bed. My head hit the bedpost, apparently. I don't remember this because I was knocked out while I was sleeping. My brother thought I was dead. And I wasn't breathing, I wasn't moving. This is what he told me. And then eventually I came back to, and I remember being really confused because my reality was I was asleep. Now I'm on the ground looking up in the air, and there's people looking over me, and I'm, what is going on? And my mother kept saying, "You're okay, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine." And she picked me up off the ground and she put me back into bed. I didn't feel fine, but I wasn't allowed to not feel fine. I wasn't allowed to need help. I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. No, no, no. I remember trying to go back to sleep, and I literally could not. I could not go back to sleep. I could not. My head was pounding, pounding. And then I started throwing up. At that time in my life, I didn't know what a concussion was. I had no idea what that meant, but I learned very quickly what a concussion was. I learned what it was to be in a position where I didn't have much of a choice. I mean, I didn't have much of a choice in the matter. I was just in it, and I couldn't stop throwing up, and I did everything I could to move stuff around, but I was so disoriented I couldn't get out of bed, and I remember so bad wanting to just go to sleep and everything to go away. That was a big theme being a kid, like the idea that if you close your eyes, things just go away. If you just play pretend, things just go away. Fantasy became a big part of my life, massive part of my life, where where I escaped. I just wanted to escape. And that kept growing and growing and growing. I wanted to be somewhere, anywhere but where I was. But the circumstances of what I was going through, they didn't change. They wouldn't change. See, you don't wake mom and dad up in the middle of the night when they're already asleep. Didn't do that. Learn that one. Learn that one by that time. So I just had to suffer alone in silence until it was light out. And I went downstairs and I said, Mom, I don't feel well. I got to go to the doctor. There's something wrong with me. And I remember the look on her face, like the hollow look when she looked me in the eyes and she told me, "What did you do?" I said, "I've been throwing up all night. I don't feel well. You need to take me to the doctor." And she looked at me and she said, "You need to go upstairs and clean up your mess." There was no compassion. There was no love for me. There was only a desire to not have responsibility. And as I've gone through that memory, I've learned that the transference of toxic shame, how that works, and toxic guilt, is that in the face of that, you cannot have it be seen. And so because of the conjecture as an adult man now of potentially what my mom was going through, she couldn't even help me. This was normal for me. I remember going upstairs and saying to myself, why did I even bother? And you would think that a parent's job is to nurture and love and take care of a child, especially when they are in a position of saying, I need to go to the hospital. I don't feel right. I feel terrible. My head hurts. Not where I come from. Not where I come from. You know, as I go through these stories and I share these stories, what I really hope to do with this YouTube channel is I hope to serve. My goal isn't to denigrate or to bring any harm to my parents at all, because I've dealt with that. Um we're going to get into some incredible strides that I've made in my life as an adult in those relationships, but I know that there are people out there who have suffered as I have suffered. And I've met many of them over the course of my life, trying to make peace with my past. And I think the thing that holds us all back is the inability to be radically honest about what actually happened, and not to say phrases like this. This is a phrase that will um, keep you unable to be yourself. The phrase goes like this: "It's not that bad." That's a phrase that has kept me in bondage, because you can always compare to someone. And what that does is that puts you in a position where you don't have to deal with what the truth is. In my case, it would go something like this: I didn't have it as bad as somebody living in a cave in Afghanistan in wartime. You know what I mean? Maybe that, or Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't know. But I bring light of it, but at the same time, it's like that is what us humans do. And I really feel so strongly that true change and true hope and true transformational experiences come from radical honesty. And that's why I'm sharing my story. Is these memories are things that still teach me about myself and areas I need to grow in every time I share them. But they also give me an opportunity to tell those who are like me, that went through things that they swore they would never tell anyone about, and that they'd bring them to their grave. It gives me a small window in time to just tell the truth, or maybe that person can see it's okay for them to be that honest, because that is how you get free. That is how abuse ends. That is how it's not passed down to your children through your actions. That is how you avoid the phrase, "I thought I would never do that. I thought I would never say that." That is how you make sure that the past isn't something that repeats, it's something that's been mastered. In my life, moments like this are so frequent that if I remembered them, I'm sure I could tell you a story for every single day of my life. But I think that the premise here, the idea with radical honesty, is that we as people can heal from these issues that then unfortunately turn into actions. This is what I've learned over working through these challenges for, I don't know, since I was in my mid 20s, 25, 26, when I started this work. You either deal with it or you pass it on. You deal with it inside of yourself, and you find ways to communicate and connect and be heard by other people, or you live it out in your life. And I'm embarrassed to admit, many years of my life, I lived this out because I didn't understand any other way. I want to encourage you that if you have gone through things that you swore you'd take them to your grave, I want to encourage you to consider being honest. And I've got one caveat here. The only person or the only type of person that you could be honest with such things with until you've processed them, I would strongly suggest is somebody that would never shame you, never criticize you, or never give you advice. Those three things are the key for you to be able to be honest. You could probably throw in never gossip about you, meaning never share anything that you shared. Those people are very, very difficult to find. They're rare people. But there are communities out there that you can find that will do that for you. If you can find those and you can trust people and build those relationships and feel the security in that, to be honest, freedom is knocking at your door. The opportunity for freedom from these things, the opportunity to no longer be embarrassed when you fly off the handle or you say the thing that you wish you could get back. I truly believe that a lot of that we do in life is based on moments in time that are memories, that are linked to phrases that then disable us from being our best selves. I want to encourage you to suffer well for a little while instead of suffering for a lifetime. Look at these things in your life from the perspective of, how did I become this? How did I be this way? What actually happened? Let go of who you idolize people to be and get honest with yourself on what happened. That took me such a long time in life to do. And all of this content is not to embarrass my parents or to say I hate them or any of that stuff. That's not what this is about. What this is about is me sharing what I've learned through violence and trauma and abuse with the world, unapologetically and unashamed of the man that I am today. Because I truly believe that there are so many people like me that are out here that don't have an understanding of, how do I get free? How do I get well? You can do it. You can do it. I have been transformed through radical honesty in relationships. And so can you.